Daily reminders to keep you moving forward. By AI Audiobooks Empire. Introduction. There are mornings when getting out of bed feels like climbing a mountain. Not because you're lazy, not because you've given up, but because somewhere along the journey, life became heavier than you expected. Have you ever looked around and wondered why everyone else seems to be moving ahead while you feel stuck in the same place? Have you ever promised yourself tomorrow will be different, only to wake up and repeat yesterday's habits? Or maybe you've experienced something even quieter, a dream that hasn't disappeared, but has slowly become buried beneath responsibilities, disappointments, and self-doubt. Here's something many people never realize. Moving forward isn't about making giant leaps. It's about refusing to stop. The biggest changes in life rarely happen because of one extraordinary moment. They happen because of hundreds of ordinary moments where someone chooses to keep going, even when they don't feel motivated. Imagine standing at the edge of a long forest trail just before sunrise. The path ahead disappears into the trees. You can't see where it ends. You can't even see the next mile. But as the sun rises, the light reveals only a few steps ahead. You walk those few steps. Then the next few become visible. And before you know it, you've traveled farther than you ever thought possible. Life often works the same way. You don't need to see your entire future. You only need enough courage for today's next step. This audiobook isn't about becoming perfect. It isn't about pretending life is always positive. And it certainly isn't about ignoring difficulties. It's about something much more practical. It's about giving yourself the reminders you need, day after day, to continue growing, learning, healing, and moving forward, even when progress feels slow. Because sometimes the words we need most aren't revolutionary. They're reminders of truths we've simply forgotten. So, wherever you're listening from, whether you're driving to work, walking through your neighborhood, sitting quietly after a difficult day, or searching for hope in the middle of uncertainty, this audiobook was created for you. Let's begin. Welcome to the channel. Welcome, and thank you for spending part of your day with us. This channel is dedicated to sharing motivational audiobooks, personal growth lessons, and practical wisdom that can help you build a stronger mindset and live with greater purpose. Whether you've been here from the beginning or this is your very first visit, we're grateful you're here. Our goal isn't simply to inspire you for a few moments. It's to give you ideas you can carry into everyday life, ideas that help you make better decisions, develop healthier habits, and continue growing one day at a time. Today's audiobook is one of those companions you can return to whenever life feels uncertain. So settle in, take a comfortable breath, and let's spend the next couple of hours exploring simple reminders that can quietly transform the way you see yourself, your challenges, and your future. Audiobook Introduction. Every person needs reminders. Not because we're incapable, but because life is noisy. Responsibilities compete for our attention. Failures leave emotional scars. Success sometimes makes us complacent. Fear convinces us to wait. Comparison whispers that we're behind. And before long, we begin forgetting truths we once believed. We forget that growth takes time. We forget that mistakes teach valuable lessons. We forget that small actions eventually become remarkable achievements. We forget that today's difficult season isn't the final chapter of our story. This audiobook is built around 12 daily reminders. They're not quick fixes. They're not secret formulas. Instead, they're timeless principles that become more powerful every time you practice them. Throughout these chapters, we'll explore how to stay grounded during uncertainty, how to keep making progress when motivation fades, how to respond to setbacks with wisdom instead of discouragement, and how to build a life that moves steadily forward, even if the pace feels slow. Along the way, you'll hear relatable stories, practical examples, thoughtful reflections, and simple actions you can begin applying immediately. Some reminders may challenge beliefs you've carried for years. Others may simply put words to something you've always known deep inside, but needed to hear again. By the time we reach the end, my hope is that you won't just feel inspired. I hope you'll feel equipped. Because lasting growth doesn't come from hearing one powerful message. It comes from returning to meaningful truths often enough that they begin shaping your everyday choices. So thank you for joining me on this journey. Let's take our first step together. Our first reminder is one that changes everything else. You don't have to feel ready before you begin. Let's explore why. Chapter 1. You don't have to feel ready before you begin. Introduction. The illusion of the perfect moment. Have you ever delayed something important because you were waiting for the perfect moment? Maybe it was starting a business, applying for a new job, learning a skill, repairing a relationship, or pursuing a dream that has quietly stayed in your heart for years. The reasons we keep waiting. You told yourself, I'll start when I have more confidence. I'll begin when I know enough. I'll wait until life settles down. At first, those thoughts sound reasonable. Preparing is wise. Planning is valuable. But there comes a point when preparation quietly transforms into procrastination. The line between the two is often invisible. You don't have to feel ready. One of the greatest obstacles to progress isn't failure. It's the belief that you must feel completely ready before taking the first step. Here's today's reminder. Readiness is rarely something you feel before you begin. More often, it's something you discover because you began. The power of imperfect action. This chapter explores why waiting for certainty can keep you standing still, and how taking imperfect action opens doors that planning alone never can. Main lesson. Experience teaches what preparation cannot. Imagine standing at the edge of a swimming pool. You've never been in deep water before. You read books about swimming. You watch videos. You ask experienced swimmers for advice. You study breathing techniques and body position. Months pass. You know more about swimming than ever before. But one thing hasn't changed. You still can't swim. Why? Because some lessons can only be learned in the water. Life works much the same way. There are things preparation can teach you, and there are things only experience can teach you. Many people spend years preparing for lives they never actually begin living. They collect information instead of experiences. They wait for confidence instead of building it. They believe successful people started with certainty, when in reality, most successful people began with questions, doubts, and imperfect plans. The first step is always uncomfortable. Think about learning to ride a bicycle. No amount of explanation replaces the first wobbling ride. You fall. You adjust. You regain your balance. Each attempt teaches something your mind couldn't have learned by observation alone. Progress comes through participation. The same is true in nearly every area of life. The first presentation may feel awkward. The first workout may leave you exhausted. The first conversation after a misunderstanding may be uncomfortable. The first page you write may seem unimpressive. The first video you create may receive little attention. But none of those first attempts define your future. They simply begin it. Fear does not mean you are not ready. One reason people hesitate is because they imagine that experienced individuals always feel confident. Yet if you speak with entrepreneurs, artists, teachers, athletes, or leaders, you'll often hear a different story. Many remember their first attempts vividly. Their hands shook. Their voices trembled. They questioned themselves. The difference wasn't that they lacked fear. The difference was that they refused to let fear make the decision. Growth often happens beneath the surface. Consider a gardener planting seeds. After placing them in the soil, nothing appears to happen. The ground looks unchanged. If the gardener judged success by what could be seen on the first day, they might believe nothing was growing. But beneath the surface, roots are quietly forming. Growth often begins where our eyes cannot yet see it. The same happens when you take your first step toward a meaningful goal. You may not notice immediate results, but something important has already changed. Your identity. Instead of being someone who only dreams, you've become someone who acts. That identity shift matters more than most people realize. Every action casts a vote for the person you're becoming. One healthy meal doesn't transform your health. One workout doesn't build lasting strength. One kind conversation doesn't instantly repair a relationship. But each action reinforces a new direction. Consistency outperforms inspiration. Imagine someone who wants to write a book. Every evening they wait for inspiration. Some nights inspiration arrives. Most nights it doesn't. Now imagine another writer. They sit at the desk every evening for 30 minutes, whether inspiration appears or not. After 1 year, who is more likely to have a completed manuscript? Consistency often outperforms inspiration. The same principle applies to almost every worthwhile pursuit. Confidence is built through action. Perhaps you've heard someone say, "I just need more confidence." Confidence is valuable. But confidence is usually the result of repeated action, not the prerequisite. Think about the first time you drove a car. You probably checked the mirrors several times. Your grip on the steering wheel may have been tighter than necessary. Every decision demanded your full attention. Years later, many of those actions happen naturally. What changed? Practice. Confidence wasn't handed to you before you started driving. It grew because you continued driving. This is one of life's quiet truths. Action creates evidence. Evidence builds confidence. Confidence encourages more action. The cycle begins with action, not certainty. Preparation has a limit. Of course, taking action doesn't mean acting recklessly. Preparation still matters. Research matters. Learning matters. Seeking wise advice matters. But eventually, preparation reaches its limit. Beyond that point, progress belongs to those willing to move despite uncertainty. Stop comparing your beginning to someone else's middle. Another reason people delay is comparison. You see someone else's polished success and forget that you're comparing your beginning to their middle, or perhaps even their 20th year. Imagine watching a beautiful oak tree sway in the wind. It's easy to admire its strength. What we don't see are the years it spent as a fragile sapling, bending under storms that seemed far too strong. Greatness often has quiet beginnings. Every expert was once a beginner. Every confident speaker once stumbled over words. Every accomplished musician once struggled through simple scales. Every respected leader once questioned whether they belonged. When you remember this, your own imperfect beginning becomes less intimidating. Small steps create different destinations. One small decision today may seem insignificant, but life is often shaped more by direction than speed. A plane leaving one city adjusts its course by only a few degrees, yet hundreds of miles later it reaches an entirely different destination. Your daily choices work the same way. Small beginnings create remarkable destinations over time. Ask yourself a better question. So instead of asking yourself, "Am I ready?" try asking, "What's the smallest meaningful step I can take today?" That question removes unnecessary pressure. It shifts your focus away from perfection and toward progress. And progress, however small, always beats standing still. Reflection. Take a quiet moment to consider these questions. What dream have you been postponing because you don't feel ready? What fear keeps convincing you to wait? If you knew you didn't have to be perfect, what would you begin today? Looking back, when has taking an imperfect first step led to something meaningful in your life? What opportunity might you miss if you continue waiting for certainty? Sometimes the answers reveal that the obstacle isn't a lack of ability. It's simply the habit of waiting. Action step. Today, choose one meaningful action you've been postponing. Keep it small enough that it feels achievable. For example, write the first paragraph instead of planning the entire project. Send the email instead of rewriting it for the 10th time. Walk for 15 minutes instead of promising to exercise for 2 hours. Make the phone call you've been avoiding. Spend 20 minutes learning a new skill. When you've completed that one action, don't ask whether you've finished. Ask whether you've begun. Because beginning changes everything. Key takeaways. Readiness often follows action rather than preceding it. Preparation is important, but endless preparation can become procrastination. Confidence grows through repeated experience, not perfect conditions. Small, consistent actions create lasting progress over time. Focus on taking the next meaningful step instead of waiting for certainty. Inspirational closing. The future isn't built by people who always feel ready. It's built by ordinary people who decide that today's small step is more valuable than tomorrow's perfect plan. One step may not seem like much, but every long journey you've ever admired began with someone willing to take exactly one. Now that you've taken the first step, another challenge naturally appears. You begin moving forward, and suddenly you notice everyone else. Their achievements, their timelines, their successes. Comparison has a quiet way of stealing joy from progress before progress has a chance to grow. In our next chapter, we'll explore an essential daily reminder that can protect your focus and your peace. You don't have to walk anyone else's path. Chapter 2. Your journey doesn't have to look like anyone else's. Introduction. The quiet thief of confidence. There is a quiet habit that has stolen more confidence than failure ever has. It doesn't announce itself with loud criticism or dramatic setbacks. Instead, it slips into everyday moments. When someone else's success feels like your failure, you scroll through social media and see someone celebrating a promotion. A friend buys their first home. A former classmate launches a successful business. Someone younger than you reaches a goal you've been chasing for years. Without even realizing it, your thoughts begin to shift. I'm behind. I should be further along. Maybe I'm not good enough. The trap of comparison. Comparison has a way of turning someone else's success into evidence against ourselves. It convinces us that life is a race with one finish line and one schedule that everyone must follow. But life has never worked that way. Your journey is your own. Today's reminder is simple, yet freeing. Your journey doesn't have to look like anyone else's to be meaningful. When you truly understand this, you stop measuring your worth by someone else's timeline. You begin paying attention to something far more important, your own growth. Main lesson: grow at your own pace. Imagine walking through a forest in early morning. As the sunlight filters through the trees, you notice something remarkable. Towering oak trees stand beside young pines. Wildflowers bloom near sturdy shrubs. Tiny ferns stretch across the forest floor while vines climb patiently toward the light. No two plants grow at the same speed. No tree looks at another and decides it has failed because it isn't as tall. Nature doesn't compete. It grows. The comparison we make with others. Yet, as humans, we often forget this lesson. We compare chapters that were never meant to be compared. We compare our beginning to someone else's breakthrough. We compare our private struggles to another person's public victories. We compare our everyday reality to carefully edited highlights. And in doing so, we overlook the progress we've already made. Learning to celebrate small steps. Think about a child learning to walk. No loving parent expects a toddler to run on the first day. Every wobble is celebrated. Every step forward matters. Every fall is simply part of learning. Now imagine if that same child looked across the room at an older sibling and thought, "There's no point in trying. They can already run." It sounds ridiculous, but adults do something similar all the time. We dismiss our own progress because someone else appears farther ahead. Ask the right question. The problem with comparison is that it changes the question we're asking. Instead of asking, "Am I growing?" we begin asking, "Am I growing faster than everyone else?" Those are two completely different questions. Only one of them leads to peace. Measure yourself against your past. Let's imagine two people training for a marathon. The first runner has been training consistently for 5 years. The second runner started only 3 months ago. If the newer runner constantly compares their pace to the experienced athlete, discouragement is almost guaranteed. But if they compare today's performance to where they were last month, they'll notice something encouraging. They're breathing easier. They're running farther. They're recovering faster. Real progress becomes visible when we compare ourselves to our past, not someone else's present. You rarely see the full story. Another reason comparison feels so convincing is that we rarely see the full story. Success often looks effortless from a distance, but distance hides details. You may admire someone's confidence without seeing the years they spent overcoming insecurity. You may envy someone's thriving business without knowing how many failed ideas came first. You may admire someone's peaceful family without knowing the difficult conversations, sacrifices, and forgiveness that built those relationships. Every visible achievement usually rests on an invisible foundation. Late nights, disappointments, self-doubt, persistence, small decisions repeated for years. We see the victory, not the journey. Imagine watching a movie that begins in the final 10 minutes. You see the celebration, but not the struggle. The victory, but not the preparation. That's often what comparison does. It shows us someone else's ending while hiding their beginning. Don't let comparison distract you. There's another hidden cost to comparison. It distracts you from your own assignment. Picture two mountain climbers. One spends the entire climb staring at another person's path. The other focuses on each foothold directly in front of them. Who is more likely to reach the summit safely? The answer is obvious. Looking sideways too often makes it harder to move forward. Life asks the same of us. Focus on your next step, not someone else's 100th. Your purpose is uniquely yours. Consider the story of a potter shaping clay. Every piece begins as a lump of earth. Some become bowls. Some become vases. Some become simple cups. Each serves a different purpose. None has failed because it didn't become something else. In the same way, your purpose may not resemble another person's. Your gifts are different. Your experiences are different. Your challenges are different. Your opportunities are different. So why should your journey be identical? Someone else's success doesn't diminish yours. Perhaps one of the greatest signs of maturity is celebrating another person's success without questioning your own potential. Someone else's achievement doesn't reduce your possibilities. Their light doesn't dim yours. Imagine standing outside on a clear night. Thousands of stars shine overhead. One star doesn't become less beautiful because another shines brightly nearby. The sky is vast enough for all of them. Life is much the same. Success is not a limited resource. Someone else's progress doesn't block your path. It simply reminds you that growth is possible. Run your own race. There will always be people who are ahead of you. There will always be people who are behind you. Neither group determines your value. Your responsibility isn't to outrun everyone. It's to become a little wiser, stronger, kinder, and more faithful than you were yesterday. That is a race worth running. Keep track of your growth. One practical way to overcome comparison is to keep a record of your own growth. Write down small victories. Celebrate habits you've maintained. Notice conversations you've handled better than before. Recognize fears you've overcome. Appreciate lessons you've learned. Growth is easier to see when you choose to look for it. Notice the quiet victories. Remember this. Progress isn't always dramatic. Sometimes it's quieter. Choosing patience instead of anger. Getting back up after disappointment. Keeping a promise to yourself. Taking one more step when quitting would have been easier. Those victories may never trend online, but they shape the person you're becoming. And that person matters far more than any comparison ever could. Reflection. Take a moment to reflect on these questions. Whose journey do you find yourself comparing your own to most often? How has comparison affected your confidence or motivation? What personal progress have you overlooked because you've been focused on someone else's achievements? If comparison disappeared today, what goal would you pursue with greater freedom? What are 3 ways you've grown over the past year that deserve recognition? Sometimes the greatest breakthrough comes when you stop looking sideways and start appreciating the road beneath your own feet. Action step. Today, begin a progress journal. Take 10 minutes and write down 3 ways you've grown in the past year. 1 challenge you've overcome. 1 habit you're proud of developing. 1 small step you'll take tomorrow. Keep adding to this journal each week. Whenever comparison begins to steal your confidence, return to these pages. Let them remind you that your journey is moving, even if it isn't moving at someone else's pace. Key takeaways. Comparison often steals joy by making you measure yourself against someone else's timeline. Real growth is best measured against your past self, not another person's present. Every visible success has an invisible story of struggle and persistence. Your purpose, pace, and path are uniquely your own. Celebrate your progress, no matter how small, because consistent growth creates meaningful change. Inspirational closing. The strongest tree in the forest didn't become strong by racing the trees around it. It became strong by growing faithfully where it was planted, season after season. Your life doesn't need to mirror someone else's to become something remarkable. Keep growing where you are. In time, your roots will tell a story that comparison never could. When you stop comparing your path to everyone else's, something interesting happens. You begin paying closer attention to your own thoughts. And that's where the next challenge appears. Because before your circumstances can slow you down, your inner voice often tries to. In the next chapter, we'll explore one of the most important daily reminders you'll ever hear. Chapter 3. The way you speak to yourself shapes the direction of your life. Introduction. The voice you hear most. There is one voice you hear more than any other. It isn't your family's. It isn't your friends. It isn't your managers, your teachers, or even the people you admire most. It's your own. The conversation inside your mind. From the moment you wake up until you fall asleep, there's an ongoing conversation happening inside your mind. Sometimes it's encouraging. Sometimes it's questioning. And sometimes, without realizing it, it becomes your harshest critic. The stories we tell ourselves. Maybe you've caught yourself saying things like, "I'm just not good enough. I always mess things up. People like me don't succeed. It's probably too late." When thoughts begin to feel like truth, the more often these thoughts are repeated, the more familiar they become. And what becomes familiar often begins to feel true, even when it isn't. Change the conversation within. Today's reminder is this. The words you repeatedly say to yourself become the lens through which you see your life. Changing your life doesn't begin with pretending everything is perfect. It begins by changing the conversation you're having with yourself. Main lesson: the weight of repeated thoughts. Imagine carrying a backpack every day. At first, it's empty. Then someone places a small stone inside. One stone doesn't seem like much. The next day, another stone is added. Then another. Weeks pass. Months pass. Eventually, the backpack becomes so heavy that walking feels exhausting. Negative self-talk works in much the same way. Rarely does one critical thought change your life. But thousands of repeated thoughts slowly shape how you see yourself, your abilities, and your future. The quiet thoughts that hold you back. The difficult part is that many of these thoughts don't even sound dramatic. They're subtle. I'll probably fail. I'm not as talented as other people. Why even try? No one cares what I have to offer. These thoughts quietly influence decisions. You hesitate to apply for opportunities. You avoid difficult conversations. You give up sooner than necessary. Not because you lack potential, but because your inner dialogue has convinced you that trying isn't worth it. Pulling the weeds from your mind. Now imagine a gardener tending to a beautiful garden. Every day, weeds appear. The gardener doesn't become angry because weeds exist. They simply understand something important. If weeds are ignored long enough, they begin taking resources away from healthy plants. Your mind works the same way. Negative thoughts will appear. That doesn't mean you've failed. It means you're human. The goal isn't to eliminate every negative thought. The goal is to recognize which thoughts deserve your attention and which should be gently removed before they take root. The meaning you give to mistakes. Let's consider a simple example. Imagine you make a mistake during an important presentation. One response might sound like this: I'm terrible at public speaking. I'll never be good at this. Everyone probably thinks I'm incompetent. Notice how quickly one mistake becomes a permanent identity. Now imagine another response. That presentation didn't go the way I hoped. What can I learn from it? Next time I'll prepare differently. The event hasn't changed. Only the interpretation has. And that interpretation determines what happens next. One leads to avoidance. The other leads to growth. Speak to yourself with honesty and hope. This doesn't mean speaking to yourself with empty praise. Saying, I'm the greatest, when you don't believe it usually doesn't help. Healthy self-talk isn't about denying reality. It's about describing reality honestly and hopefully. Instead of saying, I can't do this, try saying, I can't do this yet, but I can improve. Instead of, I've failed, try. This attempt didn't work. What's the next adjustment? That single word, yet, has incredible power. It transforms a conclusion into a process. A closed door into an open path. Treat yourself like a friend. Consider how you would speak to a close friend. If someone you cared about made a mistake, would you say, "You're hopeless. Don't ever try again." Probably not. You'd likely encourage them. You'd remind them that one setback doesn't define their future. You'd help them see possibilities they can't currently see. So here's an important question. Why should you deserve less kindness from yourself than you freely give to others? Self-compassion builds resilience. Self-compassion isn't weakness. It's fuel for resilience. People often believe that being hard on themselves will keep them motivated. But imagine trying to grow a plant by constantly criticizing it. No amount of harsh words creates healthy growth. Growth requires care, consistency, patience, and attention. People aren't so different. Become your own patient teacher. Let's think about a child learning to read. At first, every sentence is slow. Words are mispronounced. Mistakes happen often. A patient teacher doesn't respond by saying, "You'll never learn." Instead, they gently correct, encourage, and celebrate progress. Over time, reading becomes natural. Now imagine becoming your own patient teacher. Each mistake becomes feedback. Each challenge becomes practice. Each success becomes evidence that growth is happening. Your mind notices what you expect. There's another reason your inner dialogue matters. Your mind listens to what you repeatedly tell it. If every day you say, "I'm always unlucky," your attention naturally searches for evidence that confirms it. If you say, "I can learn from difficult situations," your attention begins noticing lessons and opportunities instead. Psychologists sometimes describe this as the brain's tendency to notice what it expects to find. Like buying a new car and suddenly seeing the same model everywhere. The cars were always there. Your attention simply changed. Your beliefs shape what you notice. The same happens with your beliefs. If you constantly remind yourself that you're incapable, you'll notice every mistake. If you remind yourself that you're learning, you'll notice every improvement. Neither perspective ignores reality. They simply choose where to place focus. One creates discouragement. The other creates momentum. Challenge the words always and never. Another helpful practice is paying attention to absolute words. I always fail. I never succeed. Everything goes wrong. Life is rarely that absolute. Usually, those statements aren't facts. They're emotional reactions. Replacing them with more accurate language can make a surprising difference. Instead of, "I always fail," try, "This didn't work the way I expected." Instead of, "I'll never change," say, "Change takes time, and I'm still practicing." Small shifts in language gradually reshape the stories we tell ourselves. And those stories shape our future decisions. Choose a voice that helps you grow. Remember this. Your inner voice becomes your constant companion. Make sure it's a guide, not a bully. Not because you're perfect, but because you're growing. And people who are growing need encouragement just as much as correction. Reflection. Take a few quiet moments to think about these questions. What phrases do you repeat to yourself most often? Are those words helping you grow or keeping you stuck? If your closest friends spoke to themselves the way you sometimes speak to yourself, what would you say to encourage them? What is one negative belief you can begin replacing with a healthier, more truthful perspective? How might your life change if your inner voice became your greatest coach instead of your harshest critic? Awareness is the first step toward changing the conversation. Action step. For the rest of today, pay attention to your self-talk. Every time you notice a negative thought, pause and write it down. Then ask yourself two questions. Is this thought completely true? What is a more honest and encouraging way to describe this situation? For example, instead of "I'm terrible at this," write "I'm still learning and every attempt helps me improve." Instead of "I'll never figure this out," write "This is challenging, but I can learn one step at a time." This simple habit trains your mind to respond with wisdom instead of automatic criticism. Key takeaways. Your inner dialogue influences your confidence, decisions, and actions. Negative self-talk often grows through repetition, not truth. Healthy self-talk is honest, hopeful, and focused on growth. Treat yourself with the same patience and encouragement you would offer a trusted friend. Changing your words can gradually change your mindset and your future. Inspirational closing. The voice you hear most often should be one that reminds you of what's possible. Not because the road is easy, but because every day you choose to believe growth is possible, you give yourself another reason to keep walking. Speak to yourself with honesty. Speak to yourself with patience. And above all, speak to yourself in a way that helps you become the person you're working so hard to become. Our thoughts shape our actions, but even the healthiest mindset faces moments of disappointment. Plans fall apart. Efforts go unnoticed. Doors close when we hoped they would open. The question isn't whether setbacks will come, they will. The real question is how you'll respond when they do. In the next chapter, we'll explore a reminder that can transform frustration into resilience. Chapter 4. Every setback carries a lesson, if you're willing to look for it. Introduction. When everything seems to be going right. There are days when life unfolds exactly as you hoped. Your plans come together. Your efforts produce results. You feel like you're finally making progress. When plans suddenly change. And then, without warning, something changes. The opportunity you counted on disappears. The interview doesn't lead to an offer. The project you've invested months into falls apart. A relationship becomes strained. A carefully made plan suddenly no longer works. Ask a better question. In moments like these, it's natural to ask, why did this happen? It's a question almost everyone asks. But there's another question that often leads to greater growth. What can this teach me? Finding the lesson in the setback. Today's reminder is one that has helped countless people move through difficult seasons with greater wisdom. Every setback carries a lesson, if you're willing to look for it. That doesn't mean every disappointment is good. It doesn't mean every loss is easy. It simply means that even painful experiences can become valuable teachers when we approach them with curiosity instead of defeat. Main lesson. Turn failure into curiosity. Imagine you're learning to bake bread for the first time. You carefully measure every ingredient, follow the recipe, and place the dough in the oven. When the timer rings, you open the door with excitement, only to find that the bread hasn't risen properly. Your first reaction might be frustration. I did everything right. Why didn't it work? You could throw away the recipe and decide you're simply not good at baking. Or you could become curious. Was the yeast fresh? Was the water too hot? Did the dough have enough time to rise? That curiosity changes everything. The failed loaf becomes a lesson instead of a final verdict. Every setback contains information. Life works much the same way. Every setback contains information. Sometimes it reveals a skill you need to strengthen. Sometimes it exposes an assumption that wasn't true. Sometimes it teaches patience. And sometimes it reminds you that not every closed door is meant to be forced open. When failure is part of the process, the challenge is that setbacks often arrive wearing the disguise of failure. Imagine a sculptor standing before a block of marble. With every strike of the chisel, pieces fall away. If the marble could speak, it might believe it was being broken. But the sculptor sees something different. Each removed piece brings the hidden masterpiece closer to being revealed. What setbacks can build within you? Many of life's setbacks work in a similar way. They remove habits that no longer serve you. They challenge beliefs that limit you. They develop qualities, patience, resilience, humility, adaptability, that success alone often cannot teach. The lessons we learn from experience. Think about a time when you learned something valuable because things didn't go according to plan. Perhaps you missed an opportunity and later realized you needed better preparation. Maybe you trusted someone too quickly and learned the importance of healthy boundaries. Perhaps a financial mistake taught you the value of planning ahead. At the time, those experiences likely felt painful. Looking back, however, they may have become turning points. Don't judge the story too quickly. One of the reasons setbacks feel so discouraging is because we tend to judge them too quickly. We assume today's disappointment defines tomorrow's future. But life rarely reveals the full picture immediately. Imagine reading only one chapter of a novel. If that chapter ends with conflict, loss, or uncertainty, you wouldn't assume the entire story ends there. You'd keep reading. Yet when difficulty enters our own lives, we sometimes act as though we've already reached the final page. We haven't. Your current chapter is not your complete story. The destination hasn't changed. Another helpful way to think about setbacks is to compare them to road construction. Suppose you're driving to an important destination. Halfway there, you encounter a road closure. At first, it's frustrating. You expected a straight path. Now you have to slow down, turn around, and take a different route. But notice something important. The destination hasn't changed. Only the route has. Many people give up not because the destination becomes impossible, but because the journey no longer looks the way they imagined. The strength of adaptability. Flexibility is one of the greatest strengths you can develop. The people who continue moving forward aren't necessarily the ones who experience the fewest setbacks. They're often the ones who adapt most effectively. Mistakes are expensive teachers. Consider the story of a young carpenter. On his first day, he accidentally cut several pieces of wood too short. Embarrassed, he expected his mentor to be angry. Instead, the older craftsman smiled and said, "Wood is an expensive teacher, but it teaches well." The lesson stayed with him for decades. Mistakes often cost something: time, money, energy, confidence. But if you learn from them, they continue paying you back for the rest of your life. That's what transforms a mistake into wisdom. Setbacks reveal your character. There's another important truth about setbacks. They reveal character. It's easy to stay patient when everything is going well. It's easy to remain optimistic when success comes quickly. But difficulty asks deeper questions. Will you keep your integrity when shortcuts seem tempting? Will you continue showing kindness when life feels unfair? Will you remain committed when results take longer than expected? These questions shape who you become. Pressure can create strength. Think about a blacksmith forging a piece of steel. The metal is heated until it glows. Then it's hammered, folded, shaped, heated again. From the outside, the process appears harsh, but every stage increases its strength. Without the heat and pressure, the steel would never become what it was designed to be. We often wish life would make us stronger without allowing us to experience difficulty. But many of our greatest qualities are developed precisely because we faced challenges we never would have chosen. The qualities difficulty teaches. Resilience is rarely learned during comfortable seasons. Patience grows while waiting. Wisdom develops through experience. Compassion often deepens after we've experienced our own pain. Turn setbacks into lessons. One practical habit that can change the way you experience setbacks is to keep a lesson journal. Whenever something doesn't go as planned, resist the urge to ask only why me. Instead, write down 3 questions. 1. What happened? 2. What did this experience teach me? 3. How will I approach a similar situation differently next time? This simple exercise shifts your focus from blame to growth. Over time, you'll begin noticing something remarkable. The same experiences that once discouraged you become the very experiences that prepare you. You choose what happens within you. Remember this. You don't always get to choose what happens to you, but you almost always get to choose what happens within you. That choice shapes far more of your future than any single setback ever could. Reflection. Take a quiet moment to think about these questions. What setback has had the greatest impact on your life so far? Looking back, what lessons did it teach you that success could not? Is there a current disappointment that might hold a lesson you haven't yet recognized? How do you usually respond when plans don't go the way you expected? What would change if you viewed setbacks as teachers instead of enemies? Sometimes the value of a difficult season isn't found in avoiding it, but in discovering what it came to teach. Action step. Think of one recent setback you've experienced. On a sheet of paper or in your journal, create 3 headings. What happened? What did I learn? What will I do differently next time? Be honest, but don't be harsh with yourself. The goal isn't to criticize your past decisions. The goal is to turn experience into wisdom. When you finish writing, choose one lesson you can apply this week. Even a small adjustment can change the direction of your future. Key takeaways. Setbacks often contain lessons that success cannot teach. Curiosity leads to growth, while self-condemnation keeps you stuck. A change in your path doesn't always mean a change in your destination. Challenges reveal and strengthen qualities like resilience, patience, and wisdom. Reflecting on difficult experiences helps transform them into valuable life lessons. Inspirational closing. A setback is not a sign that your story is over. More often, it's an invitation to become wiser than you were yesterday. The road may have become more difficult. The pace may have slowed. But every lesson you carry forward becomes a tool that makes the next part of the journey stronger. Don't waste your struggles. Learn from them. And let them become stepping stones instead of stumbling blocks. Learning from setbacks gives us wisdom. But wisdom alone isn't enough to keep us moving. What truly shapes our future isn't what we do once in a while. It's what we do consistently. In the next chapter, we'll discover a reminder that quietly transforms ordinary days into extraordinary lives. Chapter 5. Small daily habits create the future you're hoping for. Introduction. The myth of the big moment. When people imagine meaningful change, they often picture dramatic moments. A life-changing decision. A breakthrough opportunity. A single event that suddenly transforms everything. Those moments do happen. But if you look closely at the lives of people who create lasting success, you'll discover something surprising. Their greatest achievements are usually built on ordinary routines repeated over and over again. The quiet power of daily habits. Today's reminder is one that seems simple, yet has the power to reshape your future. Small daily habits create the future you're hoping for. Why small actions matter. It's easy to underestimate small actions because their results are rarely immediate. A single healthy meal doesn't transform your body. Reading 10 pages won't make you an expert overnight. Saving a small amount of money won't instantly create financial security. Yet these seemingly insignificant choices accumulate. The power of consistency. Like drops of water filling a bucket, they become impossible to ignore over time. This chapter is about learning to trust the quiet power of consistency. Main lesson. One step at a time. Imagine a stone staircase leading up a hill. Each step is only a few inches high. Standing at the bottom, the climb doesn't seem impressive. One step feels almost meaningless. But if you continue taking one step after another, you'll eventually reach the top. No giant leap is required. Just another step. The power of consistent effort. Life often works exactly this way. Many people overestimate what they can accomplish in a single day and underestimate what they can accomplish in a year of consistent effort. We want immediate results because immediate results feel exciting. But lasting transformation usually grows slowly, almost unnoticed. Growth happens beneath the surface. Think about planting a bamboo seed. For years, very little appears above the ground. To someone passing by, it may look as though nothing is happening. But beneath the surface, an extensive root system is developing. When the time is right, the bamboo begins growing rapidly, supported by the foundation that was patiently built out of sight. Our habits are like those hidden roots. Every healthy choice strengthens the foundation of the person you're becoming. You may not notice dramatic changes this week, but months from now, you'll be standing on a stronger foundation because of what you chose to do today. Small choices create different futures. Let's consider two friends. They both leave work at the same time every evening. The first spends 30 minutes reading something that helps them grow, perhaps about communication, leadership, health, or a skill they want to develop. The second spends those same 30 minutes mindlessly scrolling through endless content they won't remember tomorrow. One evening doesn't seem to matter. One week doesn't seem significant. But what about 5 years? Those small choices gradually shape different ways of thinking, different opportunities, and different futures. The difference wasn't one dramatic decision. It was the quiet accumulation of daily habits. Every choice adds up. Imagine filling a jar with marbles. Each marble represents one positive choice. A workout, a kind conversation, a chapter read, money saved, time spent practicing a skill, a promise kept. One marble doesn't seem important, but after hundreds of days, the jar becomes full. Your life is built the same way. You rarely notice one day's progress. You notice the accumulation. Trust the process before you see results. One reason people abandon good habits is because they expect immediate rewards. When they don't see visible results, they assume their efforts aren't working. Imagine brushing your teeth once. Nothing remarkable happens. Now imagine not brushing your teeth for 6 months. Suddenly, the importance of that daily habit becomes obvious. Many of life's most valuable habits work this way. Their greatest benefit isn't what they produce today. It's what they prevent tomorrow. Small habits protect your future. Regular exercise doesn't simply build strength. It often prevents future health problems. Saving money doesn't only increase your bank account. It creates options during unexpected moments. Daily learning doesn't just increase knowledge. It prepares you for opportunities you can't yet see. Small habits quietly protect your future. Your habits shape your identity. There's another important truth. Habits shape identity. Suppose someone says, "I want to become a writer." Instead of asking whether they've finished a book, ask a different question. Did you write today? A writer writes. A musician practices. A healthy person chooses healthy behaviors. A trustworthy person keeps commitments. Identity grows through repeated actions. Every habit becomes another vote for the person you're becoming. You don't have to change everything at once. The encouraging news is that you don't need to change your entire life overnight. In fact, trying to change everything at once often leads to frustration. Imagine trying to push a massive boulder. At first, it doesn't move. You push again tomorrow. Still nothing. For several days, it appears unchanged. Then one day, almost unexpectedly, it begins to roll. Was it only that final push that mattered? Of course not. Every push contributed. Progress often becomes visible only after many invisible efforts. Patience is part of progress. That's why patience is such an essential companion to consistency. Let's think about a musician learning the piano. No single practice session creates mastery. Some days feel productive. Others feel frustrating. Yet every session strengthens memory, coordination, and confidence. Years later, people applaud what appears to be effortless talent. They rarely see the thousands of quiet practice sessions that made it possible. Great things are built through ordinary actions. The same principle applies to every meaningful goal. Great relationships are built through small moments of listening, honesty, forgiveness, and appreciation. Successful careers often grow from showing up prepared, meeting deadlines, continuing to learn, and treating people with respect. Strong character develops through everyday choices that no one else may even notice. Consistency reduces the need for motivation. Consistency has another remarkable quality. It reduces the need for motivation. If you wait until you feel inspired to take action, you'll likely be inconsistent. But when a habit becomes part of your routine, you act because it's simply what you do. Think about tying your shoes. You don't wait until you feel motivated. You do it automatically. Healthy habits can eventually become just as natural. Ask yourself one simple question. Here's a practical question worth asking yourself each morning. What small action today would make tomorrow a little easier? Perhaps it's preparing your lunch tonight, organizing your workspace, reading for 15 minutes, taking a short walk, calling someone you've been meaning to encourage. None of these actions seem extraordinary. Together, they create an extraordinary life. Your future is built today. Remember this. Success isn't usually hidden inside one remarkable day. It's hidden inside ordinary days that were lived with intention. And that's good news. Because ordinary days are available to all of us. Every sunrise gives you another opportunity to place one more marble in the jar, another brick in the foundation, another step on the staircase. It may not feel significant today, but your future self will quietly thank you for every small choice you refused to overlook. Reflection. Take a moment to consider these questions. Which daily habit is helping you move toward the life you want? Which habit is quietly pulling you away from it? What small action have you been dismissing because it seems too insignificant? If you repeated one positive habit every day for the next year, how might your life be different? What kind of person are your current habits helping you become? Remember, your habits are writing tomorrow's story long before tomorrow arrives. Action step. Choose one habit that takes 10 minutes or less and commit to practicing it every day for the next 7 days. Examples include reading 10 pages of a meaningful book, walking for 10 minutes, writing 3 sentences in a journal, spending 10 minutes learning a new skill, tidying one small area of your home, writing down 3 things you're grateful for. Keep it simple. Your goal isn't perfection. Your goal is consistency. When the habit feels small enough to repeat, it becomes much easier to sustain. Key takeaways. Small daily habits produce remarkable long-term results. Consistency is more powerful than occasional bursts of motivation. Healthy habits build the identity of the person you want to become. Many valuable habits prevent future problems before they appear. Focus on repeating small actions rather than chasing dramatic change. Inspirational closing. The life you hope to live is rarely built in a single unforgettable moment. It's built in quiet mornings when you choose discipline over excuses. It's built in ordinary afternoons when you keep your promises to yourself. And it's built in peaceful evenings when you prepare for tomorrow instead of regretting today. Never underestimate a small habit. Given enough time, it has the power to reshape an entire life. Consistent habits help you build momentum, but even the strongest routines will face moments of uncertainty. There will be days when progress feels invisible. Days when you wonder whether your efforts are making any difference at all. In the next chapter, we'll explore a reminder that can keep you moving during those quiet seasons. Chapter 6. Trust the process even when you can't yet see the results. Introduction. When hard work feels invisible. Few things test our patience more than working hard without seeing immediate results. You put in the effort. You stay consistent. You show up day after day. Yet when you look around, it feels as though nothing is changing. When progress feels too slow, maybe you've been exercising but don't notice much difference. Maybe you've been saving money, but the goal still seems far away. Maybe you've been working on your career, your relationships, or your personal growth, and the progress feels painfully slow. The question that makes us want to quit. In those moments, a quiet question begins to surface. Is any of this actually making a difference? That question has caused many people to quit just before their efforts were about to bear fruit. Trust what you cannot yet see. Today's reminder is one that requires patience, but it rewards those who embrace it. Trust the process, even when you can't yet see the results. Growth is often happening long before it becomes visible. Learning to trust that unseen progress can be the difference between giving up and breaking through. Main lesson. The progress you cannot see. Imagine an iceberg floating in the ocean. From a distance, only a small portion rises above the water. The vast majority remains hidden beneath the surface. Personal growth often looks the same. People notice the visible achievements, a promotion, a completed project, a healthier lifestyle, a successful business. What they rarely see are the months or years of invisible preparation. The early mornings, the difficult conversations, the repeated failures, the quiet practice, the moments of doubt that were overcome one decision at a time. Visible success is usually supported by invisible progress. The breakthrough behind the breakthrough. Think about learning a new language. At first, every word feels unfamiliar. Simple conversations require enormous concentration. You wonder if you'll ever become fluent. Then one day, almost unexpectedly, you realize you've understood an entire conversation without translating every sentence in your mind. That breakthrough didn't happen overnight. It was the result of hundreds of small learning moments that quietly accumulated. Why progress feels invisible? Progress often feels invisible because it happens gradually. Imagine watching the hour hand on a clock. If you stare at it for 5 minutes, it appears motionless. Yet return several hours later, and you'll clearly see that it has moved. Many worthwhile goals follow the same pattern. Daily changes are difficult to notice. Long-term changes become undeniable. Patience is more than waiting. This is why patience is more than waiting. Patience is continuing to do the right things while trusting that today's efforts are preparing tomorrow's results. Build the foundation first. Let's picture a bridge being built across a wide river. For weeks, workers seem to make little visible progress. Heavy equipment arrives. Foundations are dug. Steel supports disappear beneath the water. To someone passing by, it may seem as though nothing meaningful is happening. But the engineers know something important. A bridge is only as strong as the foundation no one will ever see. Our character develops the same way. Integrity, discipline, humility, resilience. These qualities are often built during seasons when there is little external recognition. No applause, no celebration, just quiet faithfulness. Yet those unseen qualities eventually support visible success. Don't confuse invisibility with failure. One of the greatest dangers during slow seasons is believing that no visible results mean no progress. That's simply not true. Consider a sculptor working with a block of stone. Strike after strike, the marble appears almost unchanged. An observer might wonder if the work is accomplishing anything. Then suddenly, a recognizable shape begins to emerge. The final breakthrough wasn't caused by one strike alone. It was made possible by every strike that came before it. Many people quit after the 20th strike, not realizing the 21st may have revealed the masterpiece. Life often asks us to trust the process long enough for the hidden work to become visible. The person you become along the way. There's another lesson worth remembering. Not all growth happens in the outcome. Sometimes the greatest transformation happens in the person pursuing the outcome. Imagine two people training for the same race. One wins. The other finishes far behind. From the outside, it seems obvious who succeeded. But what if the second runner began the year unable to run even 1 mile? What if they developed discipline, perseverance, healthier habits, and greater confidence along the journey? Did they really fail? Sometimes we become so focused on reaching the destination that we overlook who we're becoming along the way. And often, that's the greater victory. The heat is working. Let's think about a pot of water placed over a fire. For several minutes, nothing seems to happen. The water remains calm. No bubbles. No steam. Then gradually, tiny bubbles begin forming. Soon afterward, the water reaches a rolling boil. The heat was working the entire time, even before the change became visible. Your consistent efforts work much the same way. Every disciplined choice adds a little more heat. Every healthy habit builds a little more strength. Every lesson learned adds a little more wisdom. You may not notice the difference today, but that doesn't mean nothing is happening. Measure what you can control. One practical way to strengthen trust in the process is to measure inputs instead of constantly measuring outcomes. Instead of asking, "Did I lose 10 pounds yet?" Ask, "Did I complete today's workout?" Instead of asking, "Have I become successful yet?" Ask, "Did I spend time improving my skills today?" Instead of asking, "Why hasn't everything changed?" Ask, "Am I becoming the kind of person who keeps showing up?" When you focus on the process, progress becomes easier to recognize. The outcomes will eventually follow. Trust what you cannot yet see. Remember this. The farmer doesn't dig up the seeds every morning to see if they're growing. They water the soil, protect the field, trust the season, and continue caring for what cannot yet be seen. That's not blind optimism. That's faithful consistency. Your goals deserve the same patience. Reflection. Pause for a moment and reflect on these questions. Where in your life are you becoming discouraged because results seem slow? Are you measuring your daily effort or only your final outcome? What invisible progress might already be taking place beneath the surface? Have you ever experienced a breakthrough that only became possible because you refused to quit too early? What would change if you trusted the process for another 6 months? Sometimes the greatest act of faith isn't believing that success is possible. It's believing that today's small effort still matters. Action step. Choose one goal you've been tempted to give up on. Instead of focusing on the final result, write down 3 daily actions that support that goal. For example, read 10 pages. Walk for 20 minutes. Practice your skill for 30 minutes. Save a small amount of money. Reach out to one potential client. Then, for the next 7 days, measure only whether you completed those actions. At the end of the week, celebrate your consistency, not just your results. Key takeaways. Meaningful progress is often invisible before it becomes visible. Strong foundations are built long before others notice the outcome. Focus on daily actions rather than constantly judging final results. Patience means continuing to act faithfully while growth unfolds. The person you become during the journey is often the greatest reward. Inspirational closing. A seed never doubts the arrival of spring. It simply keeps growing in the darkness until the day it finally reaches the light. Your efforts may feel hidden today. Your progress may seem slow. But every honest step, every disciplined choice, and every quiet act of perseverance is preparing you for a future you cannot fully see yet. Keep tending the garden. The harvest has its own season. If you've stayed with me this far, thank you. You've already invested time in reflecting on 6 powerful reminders, beginning before you feel ready, letting go of comparison, speaking to yourself with kindness, learning from setbacks, building consistent habits, and trusting the process. If these lessons have encouraged you or given you something meaningful to think about, I'd love to ask a small favor. Please take a moment to like this video. It helps more people discover these messages and supports the growth of this community. If you enjoy motivational audiobooks and practical personal development content like this, subscribe to the channel so you won't miss future releases. And if you know someone who could use a little encouragement today, consider sharing this audiobook with them. Sometimes one conversation, one reminder, or one story can make a bigger difference than we ever realize. Finally, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Which reminder has impacted you the most so far, and why? Your experiences may encourage someone else who's walking a similar path. Now, let's continue. We've talked about beginning, growing, and trusting the process. But there's another challenge we all face from time to time. Even when we're making progress, life has a way of testing our resilience through unexpected change. Let's explore how to move forward without fearing what we cannot control. Chapter 7. You can't control everything, but you can always choose your response. Introduction. When life doesn't go according to plan. Life has a way of reminding us that we are not in control of everything. A carefully planned day can be disrupted by a single phone call. A stable job can suddenly change. A trusted relationship can become complicated. Unexpected illness, financial setbacks, disappointments, and unforeseen challenges can arrive without invitation. The desire to control everything. When life feels uncertain, it's natural to wish we could control every outcome. We replay conversations in our minds. We worry about tomorrow. We imagine every possible scenario, hoping that enough thinking will somehow protect us from pain. Where your real power lies. But here's an important truth. Trying to control everything often leaves us feeling exhausted, while learning to control our response makes us stronger. Today's reminder is about discovering where your real power lies. Not in controlling every circumstance, but in choosing the attitude, actions, and character you bring into every circumstance. Main lesson. Learn to navigate the storm. Imagine you're sailing across a large lake. You carefully prepare your boat before leaving the shore. You check the weather. You inspect the sails. You pack everything you'll need. For several hours, the journey is peaceful. Then suddenly, the wind changes. Dark clouds appear. The water becomes rough. No matter how experienced you are, you cannot command the wind to stop. You cannot tell the waves to become calm. But you can adjust the sails. You can steady the wheel. You can decide not to panic. Life is remarkably similar. We don't control every storm, but we do have influence over how we navigate through it. Stop worrying about what you cannot change. Many people spend enormous amounts of energy worrying about things they cannot change. They replay the past, wishing they had made different decisions. They fear future events that may never happen. They become emotionally drained by circumstances beyond their reach. The difference between responsibility and control. Imagine holding a handful of sand. If you squeeze it tightly, trying to keep every grain, much of it slips through your fingers. But if you hold your hand open, the sand rests naturally in your palm. The harder we try to control everything, the more frustrated we often become. Learning to let go doesn't mean giving up. It means recognizing the difference between responsibility and control. Focus on what you can influence. For example, you can't control whether every person likes you, but you can choose to treat people with kindness and respect. You can't control the economy, but you can improve your skills, manage your finances wisely, and prepare for challenges. You can't control traffic on your way to work, but you can choose whether to spend the drive in anger or in peace. These choices may seem small, yet over time, they shape the quality of your life. The power of your response. Let's imagine two co-workers who receive unexpected criticism from their manager. The first immediately becomes defensive. They spend the rest of the day replaying the conversation, growing increasingly frustrated. By evening, they're still carrying that emotional weight. The second co-worker also feels disappointed. But after taking a moment to calm down, they ask, "Is there anything useful I can learn from this feedback?" If there is, they improve. If there isn't, they let it go. Both experience the same event. One carried it like a burden. The other carried it like a lesson. The difference wasn't the circumstance. It was the response. Pause before you react. One of the greatest skills you can develop is learning to pause before reacting. Imagine throwing a stone into a calm pond. The splash lasts only a moment. The ripples continue much longer. Our words and reactions work the same way. A single impulsive response can create consequences that last for days, months, or even years. That's why a brief pause can become one of your greatest strengths. Before responding, ask yourself, will this reaction improve the situation? Am I responding from wisdom or from emotion? What kind of person do I want to be in this moment? These simple questions create space between the event and your response. And within that space lies your freedom. Accept the changing seasons of life. There's another reason accepting uncertainty is so important. Life is constantly changing. Imagine standing beside a river. The water flowing past you now is different from the water that flowed past only a few seconds ago. The river keeps moving. Life does too. Some seasons bring abundance. Others bring waiting. Some bring celebration. Others require healing. Trying to freeze life in one comfortable season only creates frustration. Growth often begins when we stop resisting change and start learning from it. Stay rooted while life changes. Think about a tree during the changing seasons. In spring, it blossoms. In summer, it grows. In autumn, it lets go of its leaves. In winter, it appears quiet and still. Yet throughout every season, its roots remain firmly planted. The tree doesn't fear the changing weather. It adapts while remaining rooted. You can do the same. Your circumstances may change. Your values don't have to. Your plans may change. Your integrity doesn't have to. Your emotions may rise and fall. Your character can remain steady. This is one of the greatest forms of strength. Don't let possibilities become fears. Another helpful reminder is that many of the worries occupying your mind today will never actually happen. Have you ever spent hours worrying about a conversation only to discover it went much better than expected? Or imagined the worst possible outcome only to find that reality was far kinder? Our minds are remarkably creative. Sometimes they're creative in all the wrong directions. That's why it's important to separate possibilities from probabilities. Just because something could happen doesn't mean it's likely to happen. Return to the present moment. When worry begins to grow, gently bring yourself back to the present. Ask yourself, what can I do today? Not next year. Not next month. Today. Today's actions are where your influence lives. You can't solve tomorrow's problems with today's worry, but you can prepare for tomorrow by making wise choices today. Care for what is within your reach. Imagine a gardener during a drought. They cannot command the rain to fall, but they can water what they have. Protect the soil. Remove weeds. Care for the plants within their reach. Eventually, the rain comes. And because they stayed faithful during the dry season, the garden is ready to flourish again. Life asks the same of us. Focus your energy where it can make a difference. Release what never belonged in your hands to begin with. Peace begins with acceptance. Remember this. Peace doesn't come from controlling every circumstance. Peace comes from knowing you've done what you can and trusting that you don't have to carry what you cannot control. Reflection. Take a few quiet moments to reflect. What situation in your life are you trying to control that is beyond your influence? How much energy have you spent worrying about things you cannot change? What would it feel like to let go of that burden? What is one action you can take today instead of worrying about tomorrow? How would your relationships improve if you paused before reacting? Sometimes freedom begins with one simple decision. To release what you were never meant to carry. Action step. Draw 2 columns in your journal. Label the first column. Things I can't control. Label the second. Things I can control. In the first column, write everything that's currently causing you anxiety but lies outside your control. In the second, list actions you can take today. For example, I can't control other people's opinions. I can control how respectfully I treat others. I can't control unexpected challenges. I can control how I prepare and respond. Each morning this week, spend 5 minutes reviewing the second column. Put your energy where it matters most. Key takeaways. You cannot control every circumstance, but you can always choose your response. Peace grows when you focus on what is within your influence. A thoughtful pause often leads to wiser decisions than an immediate reaction. Life seasons will change, but your character can remain steady. Today's actions are more valuable than tomorrow's worries. Inspirational closing. The strongest people aren't those who never face storms. They're the ones who learn how to steady the sails when the wind changes. You may not choose every chapter of your life, but every day, you choose how you'll read it, how you'll respond to it, and how you'll continue writing the pages that follow. Hold tightly to your values. Hold lightly to what you cannot control. And keep moving forward with quiet confidence. When you stop trying to control everything, you create space for something even more powerful. Gratitude. Not because life suddenly becomes perfect, but because you begin noticing the good that has been there all along. In the next chapter, we'll discover a reminder that can transform ordinary days and strengthen your resilience in every season. Chapter 8. Gratitude doesn't ignore life's challenges. It gives you the strength to face them with hope. Introduction. What does gratitude really mean? When you hear the word gratitude, what comes to mind? Perhaps you picture someone smiling because everything in their life is going well. Maybe you imagine peaceful mornings, exciting opportunities, or a season where every plan seems to work out. Gratitude is not reserved for perfect days. But real gratitude isn't reserved for perfect days. In fact, it's often most powerful during imperfect ones. Anyone can be thankful when life unfolds exactly as expected. The greater challenge and the greater reward is learning to notice what remains good even when life feels uncertain. Gratitude helps you face difficulties. Today's reminder is this. Gratitude doesn't ignore life's challenges. It gives you the strength to face them with hope. Gratitude isn't pretending that difficulties don't exist. It's choosing not to let those difficulties become the only thing you see. Main lesson. Look beyond the puddles. Imagine walking through a beautiful garden just after it rains. If all you look at are the puddles, you'll conclude that the garden is messy. But if you pause for a moment, you'll also notice flowers blooming, birds singing, fresh leaves sparkling with droplets of water, and the clean scent of the earth after the rain. The puddles are real, but they're not the whole picture. Where you place your attention matters. Life is much the same. Every day contains challenges. Every day also contains blessings. Where your attention rests often shapes how you experience that day. Gratitude doesn't deny pain. This doesn't mean ignoring pain. Suppose someone breaks their arm. Gratitude doesn't require them to pretend it doesn't hurt. Instead, gratitude might sound like this. This injury is difficult, but I'm thankful for the people helping me recover. I'm grateful this wasn't worse. I'm thankful my body can heal. The problem remains, but hope enters the conversation. That's the quiet power of gratitude. It broadens your perspective. To people, one rainy morning. Let's think about two neighbors who wake up to the same rainy morning. The first opens the curtains and immediately complains. Another gloomy day. Everything is ruined. The second notices this same rain, but says, "The garden needed this. The air smells fresh today. This is a good morning to slow down and enjoy a warm cup of coffee." Neither person changed the weather, but each experienced the morning differently because of what they chose to notice. Train your mind to notice the good. Our minds naturally pay attention to problems. It's part of how we're designed to stay safe. But if we're not intentional, that tendency can quietly convince us that life is mostly made up of what's going wrong. Gratitude gently corrects that imbalance. It reminds us that blessings often arrive quietly. A kind word from a stranger. A friend checking in. A healthy meal. The ability to take a deep breath. A sunrise. A lesson learned. A second chance. These moments rarely demand our attention. They simply wait to be noticed. Gratitude changes where you look. Imagine carrying a flashlight through a dark room. Wherever you point, the light becomes your focus. If you shine it only on broken furniture, you leave believing the room is full of damage. But if you also shine it on family photographs, treasured books, comfortable chairs, and beautiful artwork, you'll realize the room holds much more than what first caught your attention. Gratitude doesn't move the furniture. It changes where you direct the light. Gratitude is a practice. One of the most remarkable things about gratitude is that it grows through practice. Think about learning to play an instrument. At first, finding the right notes takes effort. Eventually, your fingers begin moving naturally. Gratitude develops in a similar way. The more intentionally you notice what's good, the more naturally your mind begins recognizing it. Gratitude during difficult seasons. That doesn't mean every day feels joyful. There will still be difficult seasons. Losses, disappointments, questions without immediate answers. Gratitude doesn't erase those experiences. It simply refuses to let them become your entire story. Don't wait for a perfect life. Consider an elderly woman who had lived through war, economic hardship, and personal loss. When someone asked her why she still smiled so often, she replied, "I've learned that if I wait for a perfect life before I'm thankful, I'll spend my whole life waiting." Those words carry deep wisdom. Many people postpone joy until life becomes easier. But gratitude teaches us to appreciate today's gifts while still working toward tomorrow's goals. Gratitude strengthens relationships. Another beautiful quality of gratitude is that it strengthens relationships. Imagine receiving a handwritten note from someone thanking you for a simple act of kindness. How would you feel? Most likely appreciated, seen, encouraged. Gratitude has that effect. People flourish where appreciation is expressed. Families grow stronger when gratitude is spoken aloud. Friendships deepen when people feel valued. Workplaces become healthier when effort is acknowledged. Even brief words like, "Thank you. I appreciate you. That meant a lot to me," can change someone's entire day. Appreciate how far you've come. The same is true for your relationship with yourself. Instead of focusing only on what you haven't accomplished, pause to appreciate how far you've come. Celebrate the habits you've built, the fears you've faced, the lessons you've learned, the resilience you've developed. Gratitude allows you to recognize progress without becoming complacent. You can still strive for more while appreciating what already exists. Don't miss the journey. Let's return to the image of a traveler climbing a mountain. If they spend every moment staring only at the distant summit, they'll miss the beautiful valleys, flowing rivers, and breathtaking views along the path. Reaching the top matters, but so does experiencing the journey. Life isn't only about arriving. It's also about noticing. And gratitude helps us notice. Let gratitude have the final word. Remember this. A grateful heart doesn't deny reality. It simply refuses to let hardship have the final word. Reflection. Take a few moments to think about these questions. What are 3 things in your life that you often take for granted? Who has made your life better recently, and have you thanked them? What challenge has unexpectedly taught you something valuable? If you ended each day by remembering one good moment, how might that change your outlook over time? What blessings are present in your life today that your younger self once hoped for? Sometimes the greatest treasures are the ones we've grown so familiar with that we've stopped noticing them. Action step. Tonight, before going to bed, write down 5 things you're grateful for. They don't need to be extraordinary. In fact, the smaller they seem, the better. Perhaps you're grateful for a meaningful conversation, a warm meal, a lesson learned, a peaceful moment, the opportunity to begin again tomorrow. Then choose one person and let them know you appreciate them. A short message, a phone call, or a sincere conversation can strengthen both their day and yours. Key takeaways. Gratitude acknowledges both challenges and blessings without denying either. What you consistently focus on shapes how you experience life. Gratitude becomes stronger the more intentionally you practice it. Expressing appreciation strengthens relationships and builds encouragement. A thankful heart helps you recognize progress, even during difficult seasons. Inspirational closing. Every sunrise brings more than another day. It brings another opportunity to notice what is already good. The world doesn't become brighter because every problem disappears. It becomes brighter because your eyes learn to recognize light, even on cloudy days. Carry gratitude with you, not as an escape from reality, but as a companion that reminds you there is always something worth appreciating, something worth protecting, and something worth hoping for. Gratitude changes how you see the world. But there's another habit that quietly shapes the direction of your life every single day. It's not found in your circumstances. It's found in the choices you make when no one else is watching. In the next chapter, we'll explore a reminder that has the power to transform your future one decision at a time. Chapter 9. Your choices today become the life you live tomorrow. Introduction. What do you see when you imagine your future? If someone asked you to predict your future, what would you focus on? Would you think about your dreams, your goals, your hopes? Most of us naturally imagine the big moments, the promotion we hope to earn, the home we want to build, the relationships we hope to strengthen, or the person we aspire to become. Your future is built one choice at a time. But here's something worth remembering. Your future isn't created all at once. It's built one choice at a time. The small decisions that shape your life. Every day, you make hundreds of decisions. Some seem important. Many seem insignificant. What time you wake up. How you respond to stress. Whether you keep your word. How you spend your free time. What you choose to learn. How you treat the people around you. Individually, these choices appear small. Collectively, they shape the direction of your life. Choose wisely today. Today's reminder is this. Your choices today become the life you live tomorrow. You don't have to transform your entire future today. You simply need to make one wise decision after another. Main lesson. The first brick. Imagine you're building a house. Before the walls go up, before the roof is added, and before the rooms are decorated, one thing must happen first. A single brick is laid. Then another. Then another. No one stands beside the first brick and says, "There's no house here." They understand that every brick matters. Life follows the same principle. Every decision is another brick. Every habit strengthens the structure. Every act of integrity reinforces the foundation. Years later, people admire the finished house. Few remember the thousands of ordinary choices that made it possible. The accumulation of daily choices. Let's think about a simple example. Imagine two co-workers who both receive an extra hour of free time every evening. The first decides to spend that hour learning a new skill. The second spends the hour complaining about not having enough opportunities. A week passes. There isn't much difference. A month passes. Still, the gap is small. But after several years, those evenings begin telling two very different stories. One person has gained knowledge, confidence, and new possibilities. The other is still waiting for circumstances to change. The difference wasn't luck. It was the accumulation of daily choices. Prepare before opportunity arrives. Many people believe that their future depends primarily on one big opportunity. While opportunities certainly matter, they're often recognized and seized by people who have already prepared through consistent choices. Imagine a farmer who dreams of a great harvest. Dreaming alone doesn't produce crops. The farmer prepares the soil, plants the seeds, removes weeds, waters the field, protects the harvest. Every day includes small responsibilities. Each one contributes to the season ahead. Your goals require the same kind of care. Small choices create big changes. Consider someone who wants to become healthier. They don't need to make one perfect decision. They need to make many good decisions. Choosing water instead of another sugary drink. Taking the stairs. Going to bed a little earlier. Preparing a healthier meal. Walking after dinner. Each choice may seem too small to matter, but together they create a healthier future. Your choices shape your character. There's another important truth. Every choice either strengthens or weakens your values. Suppose you promise yourself that you'll arrive on time. One morning, you decide that being 5 minutes late isn't a big deal. The next time, 10 minutes feels acceptable. Soon, punctuality becomes optional. Character often changes gradually. The same is true in the opposite direction. Keeping one small promise to yourself makes it easier to keep the next one. Integrity grows through repetition. Small directions lead to different destinations. Imagine holding a compass while hiking through a dense forest. A tiny adjustment in direction might seem insignificant at first. But after walking several miles, that small adjustment leads you to an entirely different destination. Your daily decisions are like those tiny changes in direction. One wise choice rarely changes everything overnight. But repeated over months and years, those choices determine where you arrive. Ask where your choices are taking you. This is why it's so important to pause before making decisions. Ask yourself, will this choice move me closer to the person I want to become? Not every decision is about immediate comfort. Some are about long-term character. For example, telling the truth during a difficult conversation may feel uncomfortable today, but it builds trust for tomorrow. Choosing to save money instead of spending impulsively may require discipline now, but it creates freedom later. Saying no to distractions may feel difficult in the moment, but it allows you to say yes to greater opportunities in the future. Wise choices often require temporary sacrifice, but they frequently produce lasting rewards. What you remove matters too. Let's imagine a sculptor creating a beautiful statue. Every strike of the chisel removes something unnecessary. Little by little, the sculpture begins to appear. Our lives are shaped not only by what we add, but also by what we remove. Removing unhealthy habits. Removing resentment. Removing unnecessary distractions. Removing excuses. Every time we let go of something that doesn't serve our purpose, we create space for something better. One mistake doesn't define your future. Another encouraging reminder is that one poor choice doesn't define your life. Everyone makes mistakes. Everyone has moments they wish they could redo. The important question isn't whether you've made wrong decisions. The important question is, what decision will I make next? Imagine missing one turn while driving. Most navigation systems don't criticize you. They simply calculate a new route. Life offers that same opportunity. You may not be able to change yesterday, but you can choose differently today. And today's decision has the power to redirect tomorrow's path. Reflect on your daily choices. One helpful habit is to end each day with a simple review. Ask yourself, what choice am I proud of today? Where could I have responded more wisely? What is one better choice I can make tomorrow? This daily reflection turns ordinary experiences into lifelong wisdom. Let better choices become your character. Over time, you'll notice something remarkable. Better choices become easier. Not because life becomes simpler, but because your character becomes stronger. Remember this. Your future is not created by chance. It is quietly shaped by the decisions you make when no one is watching. Choose with intention. Choose with integrity. And trust that today's wise decisions are building tomorrow's opportunities. Reflection. Take a quiet moment to think about these questions. What daily choice has had the biggest impact on your life so far? Which habit or decision is moving you closer to the person you want to become? Is there one small decision you've been avoiding because it feels uncomfortable? What would your future self thank you for doing today? If you repeated today's choices for the next 5 years, where would they lead you? Your answers may reveal that your future is already taking shape through the decisions you're making right now. Action step. Before you go to bed tonight, write down one important decision you expect to face tomorrow. Then answer these 3 questions. What is the wisest choice I can make? Will this choice align with my values? How will my future self benefit from this decision? Begin practicing this each evening. Over time, thoughtful decisions become thoughtful habits. And thoughtful habits build an intentional life. Key takeaways. Your future is built through the choices you make each day. Small decisions accumulate into lasting results over time. Wise choices often require short-term discipline for long-term benefit. One poor decision doesn't define you. Your next decision matters most. Daily reflection helps transform experience into wisdom. Inspirational closing. Every sunrise places a blank page in your hands. You cannot rewrite yesterday's chapter, but you can decide what today's page will say. Write it with courage. Write it with integrity. And trust that enough well-written pages will eventually become a life you are proud to call your own. Making wise choices shapes your future. But there is one obstacle that can quietly prevent even the best decisions from turning into meaningful action. It's the fear of failure. The fear of making the wrong move. The fear of not being good enough. In the next chapter, we'll discover a powerful reminder that can help you move forward despite uncertainty. Chapter 10. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It is the decision to keep moving while fear walks beside you. Introduction. How fear disguises itself. Fear has an interesting way of disguising itself. Sometimes it announces itself loudly. Your heart races before an important conversation. Your palms become sweaty before giving a presentation. You hesitate just before making a life-changing decision. The quiet voice of fear. But more often, fear is quiet. It whispers, maybe next month. What if you fail? Someone else could do this better. You're probably not ready. It's safer not to try. Because its voice is so familiar, we often mistake fear for wisdom. When waiting becomes avoidance, we convince ourselves that waiting is the responsible choice, when in reality, we're simply allowing fear to make our decisions. Courage means moving forward. Today's reminder is one that has helped countless people move beyond hesitation. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It is the decision to keep moving while fear walks beside you. You don't have to eliminate fear before you take action. You only have to decide that your purpose is greater than your hesitation. Main lesson. Take the next step into the unknown. Imagine standing at the edge of a dense forest just before dawn. The path ahead is covered in shadows. You can't see where it leads. Every instinct tells you to stay where it's safe. But as the sun slowly rises, something remarkable happens. The path doesn't suddenly become perfectly clear. Instead, the light reveals just enough for your next few steps. You don't need complete certainty. Life often works the same way. We want complete certainty before we begin. But life usually offers only enough clarity for the next decision. Courage is accepting that invitation. It's trusting that the next step will become visible after you take the current one. Experience replaces uncertainty. Think back to the first day of school. For many of us, it felt overwhelming. New faces, new teachers, an unfamiliar classroom. If someone had shown us that moment years later, after friendships had formed and confidence had grown, it would have been difficult to believe we were once so nervous. What changed? The fear didn't disappear overnight. Experience gradually replaced uncertainty. The same pattern repeats throughout life. The first job interview, the first business, the first speech, the first difficult conversation, the first day in a new city, the first time becoming a parent. Many meaningful experiences begin with uncertainty. Confidence follows courage. Imagine a bridge suspended across a deep canyon. You step onto the first plank cautiously. It creaks beneath your feet. You wonder whether it will hold. Then you take another step, and another. With each step, your confidence grows, not because the bridge changed, but because you gained experience walking across it. Confidence often follows courage, not the other way around. Fear tells incomplete stories. One reason fear feels so convincing is that it exaggerates consequences. Suppose you're thinking about applying for a new opportunity. Fear immediately imagines rejection, embarrassment, failure, disappointment. Rarely does it imagine the possibility that things could go well, or that even if you aren't successful, you'll gain valuable experience. Fear tells incomplete stories. Wisdom asks for the whole picture. Count the cost of never trying. Here's a simple question that can change your perspective. What's the cost of never trying? We spend so much time worrying about the discomfort of action that we forget to consider the regret of inaction. Imagine meeting your future self 10 years from now. What conversation would you have? Would they thank you for staying inside your comfort zone? Or would they encourage you to take the chance you were too afraid to take? Regret often grows more from missed opportunities than from honest attempts. Courage appears in ordinary moments. There's another important truth about courage. It isn't reserved for dramatic moments. Most courage appears in ordinary situations. Choosing to apologize first. Speaking honestly when silence would be easier. Asking for help when pride says you shouldn't. Setting healthy boundaries. Beginning again after disappointment. These moments may never make headlines, but they quietly shape your character. Falling doesn't mean you should stop. Think about a child learning to ride a bicycle. The first few attempts rarely go smoothly. They wobble, lose balance, fall. Sometimes they cry. Yet something beautiful happens. They climb back on. Each attempt strengthens not only their balance, but also their belief that falling isn't the end. Adults need that same reminder. Failure isn't proof that you shouldn't continue. It's often proof that you're learning. Be the light during the storm. Imagine a lighthouse standing along a rocky coastline. Storms arrive. Powerful waves crash against the rocks. Strong winds howl through the night. The lighthouse doesn't stop the storm. It simply continues shining. Its purpose isn't to eliminate difficulty. Its purpose is to provide direction despite it. Courage works much the same way. It doesn't remove life's storms. It helps you continue moving through them without losing sight of your values. Separate fear from facts. Another helpful way to understand courage is to separate fear from facts. Fear says, "You'll never recover if this goes wrong." Facts might say, "I've overcome difficult situations before." Fear says, "Everyone will judge you." Facts might say, "Most people are too busy living their own lives to spend much time thinking about mine." Fear says, "You're not capable." Facts might remind you, "I've learned difficult things before, and I can learn again." Fear often speaks in assumptions. Courage responds with truth. Give yourself permission to begin. Let's imagine an artist standing before a blank canvas. The empty space feels intimidating. Every brush stroke carries uncertainty. But without the first stroke, no masterpiece is ever possible. Life gives us many blank canvases. A new career, a new friendship, a new habit, a new season. Waiting until we're certain only leaves the canvas empty. Starting imperfectly gives it the chance to become something meaningful. Practice courage every day. One practical habit that strengthens courage is taking one uncomfortable action every day. Not something reckless. Simply something that stretches you. Introduce yourself to someone new. Ask a thoughtful question. Volunteer for a responsibility. Learn a difficult skill. Have the conversation you've been avoiding. These small acts gradually expand your comfort zone. What once seemed impossible slowly becomes familiar. Don't let fear write your story. Remember this. Courage isn't about never feeling afraid. It's about refusing to let fear become the author of your life. You may hear fear's voice, but you don't have to obey it. Reflection. Take a few moments to think about these questions. What fear has been holding you back recently? What opportunity have you delayed because you wanted certainty? If fear wasn't making this decision for you, what would you choose? Looking back, when did courage lead to one of the best experiences of your life? What small courageous step can you take this week? Sometimes courage begins with one honest answer. Action step. Choose one action you've been avoiding because it feels uncomfortable. Make it specific and achievable. For example, send the application. Start the conversation. Share your idea. Enroll in the class. Record your first video. Reach out to someone you've wanted to reconnect with. Then set a timer for the next 24 hours and complete that action before the timer ends. Don't wait until fear disappears. Act while it is still whispering. That's how courage grows. Key takeaways. Courage means acting even when fear is present. Confidence usually grows after taking action, not before. Fear often exaggerates risks and ignores possibilities. Small daily acts of courage strengthen your confidence over time. Your future is shaped more by the opportunities you pursue than the fears you avoid. Inspirational closing. Fear will probably visit you many times throughout your life. Welcome it as a reminder that you're stepping beyond what is familiar. Then thank it for trying to protect you. And continue walking anyway. Because the most meaningful chapters of your life are rarely found inside your comfort zone. They're waiting just beyond it. Courage helps you take the next step, but no one walks life's journey entirely alone. Behind every meaningful life are people who offered encouragement, wisdom, accountability, or simply a listening ear when it was needed most. In the next chapter, we'll explore an important reminder that many people overlook. Chapter 11. The people you choose to walk with shape the person you're becoming. Introduction. The people who shape your life. Have you ever noticed how different you feel after spending time with certain people? Some conversations leave you energized. You walk away feeling encouraged, hopeful, and ready to take on new challenges. Other conversations leave you feeling drained. You begin doubting yourself. Your motivation fades. Your perspective becomes clouded. The influence of your relationships. The interesting part is that neither group of people may have changed your circumstances. They simply influenced how you saw them. Human beings are deeply shaped by the relationships around them. Our attitudes, habits, expectations, and even our confidence are influenced by the people we spend the most time with. Choose relationships that help you grow. Today's reminder is one that deserves careful attention. The people you choose to walk with shape the person you're becoming. This doesn't mean surrounding yourself only with people who agree with you. It means choosing relationships that encourage growth, honesty, kindness, and accountability. Because no one reaches their fullest potential entirely alone. Main lesson. The power of your environment. Imagine placing a single piece of charcoal into a fire. It glows brightly. Now remove it from the fire and place it by itself. Slowly, it cools. Its warmth begins to fade. Put it back with the other burning coals, and before long it glows again. People often experience something similar. We are influenced by the environment around us. Supportive relationships don't remove life's difficulties. They help us face those difficulties with greater strength. The value of having someone beside you. Think about learning to play a musical instrument. Having a teacher doesn't magically make the instrument easier. But a good teacher notices mistakes you can't yet see. They encourage you when you're discouraged. They celebrate progress that you may overlook. They remind you to keep practicing when improvement feels slow. Growth becomes easier because someone is walking beside you. Life offers many opportunities to be both the learner and the teacher. Sometimes you need encouragement. Other times, you're the one who offers it. Healthy relationships work in both directions. What you allow to grow. Let's imagine two gardens. The first is carefully maintained. Weeds are removed. Plants receive water and sunlight. Healthy growth is encouraged. The second garden is ignored. Weeds spread quickly. Healthy plants struggle for space. Eventually, the garden reflects what has been consistently allowed to grow. Our relationships can influence our inner lives in a similar way. People who constantly spread negativity, dishonesty, or hopelessness can quietly shape our thinking if we're not careful. Likewise, people who consistently demonstrate integrity, optimism, humility, and perseverance encourage those same qualities within us. Compassion without losing yourself. This doesn't mean avoiding anyone who's struggling. In fact, Compassion often calls us to walk beside people during difficult seasons. The difference lies in influence. Are you helping lift someone up? Or are you constantly being pulled away from your own values? Healthy relationships encourage mutual growth. Ask who you're becoming. One practical way to evaluate a relationship is to ask yourself, who am I becoming because of the time I spend with this person? Do you become more patient? More honest? More disciplined? More generous? Or do you find yourself becoming more cynical, more reactive, or more discouraged? The answer isn't meant to create judgment. It's meant to create awareness. The people who walk with us. Let's think about a relay race. Each runner carries the baton for a portion of the journey before passing it to the next teammate. Life often works the same way. Different people walk beside us during different seasons. A teacher may influence one chapter, a close friend another, a mentor another, a family member another. Each relationship leaves something behind. The important question is, what are you receiving? And what are you passing on? The light you give to others. There's another side to this reminder. The people around you are also influenced by you. Imagine a single candle lighting another. The first candle loses nothing. Yet suddenly, there is twice as much light. Encouragement works the same way. A sincere compliment. A thoughtful message. A listening ear. A few words of belief when someone is doubting themselves. These moments often seem small, but years later, people frequently remember them. You may never fully realize how much your words matter. Perhaps someone is quietly carrying a burden you know nothing about. Your kindness could become the turning point in their day, or even in their life. The people who help us keep going. Let's imagine an experienced mountain guide leading a group through unfamiliar terrain. The guide doesn't carry everyone's backpack. They don't remove every obstacle, but they know the path. When uncertainty appears, they offer wisdom. When fear grows, they offer reassurance. When someone becomes tired, they encourage one more step. Good mentors, friends, and family members often play that role in our lives. They don't live our lives for us. They simply remind us that we don't have to walk alone. Become that person for someone else. At the same time, be willing to become that kind of person for someone else. You don't need to have all the answers. Sometimes people don't need solutions. They need presence. They need someone who listens without rushing. Someone who believes in them before they fully believe in themselves. Someone who gently reminds them of their strength during moments of weakness. Relationships built on trust, honesty, and encouragement become some of life's greatest gifts. Strong relationships require grace. Of course, no relationship is perfect. Misunderstandings happen. Disagreements arise. People disappoint one another. Forgiveness, humility, and honest communication become essential. Strong relationships aren't built because conflict never occurs. They're built because people choose to work through conflict with respect and grace. Choose quality over quantity. As you continue moving forward in your own life, remember this. You don't have to impress everyone. You don't need hundreds of close relationships. Often, A few trustworthy people who genuinely care about your growth are worth far more than a crowd that only applauds your success. Invest in those relationships. Protect them. Appreciate them. And become the kind of person others are grateful to have beside them. You don't have to walk alone. Remember this. The journey becomes lighter when it's shared with people who help you become your best self. Reflection. Take a few quiet moments to reflect. Who has had the greatest positive influence on your life? Have you thanked them recently? Which relationships consistently encourage you to grow? Are there relationships that regularly pull you away from your values or your goals? How can you become a source of encouragement for someone else this week? The quality of your relationships often reflects the quality of attention and care you invest in them. Action step. Today, reach out to one person who has positively influenced your life. Send them a sincere message. Tell them specifically what they taught you or how they've helped you. Then choose one more person who may be going through a difficult season. Offer encouragement without expecting anything in return. A simple conversation, a thoughtful text, an invitation for coffee, or just letting them know you're thinking of them. Small acts of encouragement often create ripples that extend far beyond what we can see. Key takeaways. The people around you influence your mindset, habits, and character. Healthy relationships encourage mutual growth, honesty, and accountability. You are shaped by others, and you also shape the lives of those around you. Encouragement is one of the simplest and most powerful gifts you can give. A few meaningful relationships are often more valuable than many shallow ones. Inspirational closing. Life was never meant to be a journey of isolation. We all need people who remind us to keep going when our own strength feels small. And somewhere, someone may be waiting for the encouragement that only you can give. Walk with people who bring out your best. Be the kind of companion who helps others discover theirs. Together, the path becomes a little brighter, a little lighter, and a lot more meaningful. As we come to our final chapter, we've reached one last reminder that brings everything together. We've talked about beginning before you're ready, trusting the process, choosing courage, practicing gratitude, building healthy habits, and surrounding yourself with the right people. Now it's time to answer one final question. How do you keep moving forward, not just for a week or a month, but for a lifetime? In our final chapter, we'll discover the reminder that ties every lesson in this audiobook into one lasting way of life. Chapter 12. Keep showing up, because the life you want is built one day at a time. Introduction. The road we've traveled. We've traveled a long road together. Along the way, you've been reminded to begin before you feel ready. To stop comparing your journey to everyone else's. To speak to yourself with kindness. To learn from setbacks. To build small daily habits. To trust the process. To focus on what you can control. To practice gratitude. To make wise choices. To act with courage. And to surround yourself with people who help you grow. The truth about growth. Each of these reminders points toward one simple truth. Growth isn't built in a single remarkable day. It's built through ordinary days that you choose not to waste. Keep showing up. Today's final reminder is perhaps the most important of all. Keep showing up, because the life you want is built one day at a time. You don't need to have every answer. You don't need to move at someone else's pace. You don't need perfect conditions. You simply need to keep showing up. Again, and again, and again. Main lesson. Built one stone at a time. Imagine an old stone bridge crossing a wide river. People admire its beauty and strength. What they don't often think about is how it came to exist. It wasn't built in a day. One stone was placed, then another. Workers returned the next morning, and the morning after that. Day after day, they continued laying stones until one day the bridge connected to sides that had once been separated. Your life is built the same way. The power of ordinary decisions. Most of the moments that shape your future won't feel extraordinary while you're living them. Preparing for work when you'd rather sleep. Choosing patience instead of anger. Reading one more chapter. Saving a little money. Practicing your craft. Keeping your promises. Listening carefully. Being present with the people you love. These ordinary decisions rarely receive applause, yet they quietly build a remarkable life. Growth happens gradually. Think about the sunrise. It never arrives all at once. The horizon begins to brighten. Gradually, darkness gives way to light. Within minutes, the entire landscape has changed. Growth often happens in exactly the same way. Small changes accumulate until one day you look back and realize you're no longer the person you used to be. Looking back and seeing the change. Perhaps you've experienced this before. A skill that once seemed impossible now feels natural. A fear that once controlled you no longer has this same power. A difficult season that once seemed endless eventually became part of your story instead of your present. Those changes didn't happen in one dramatic moment. They happened because you kept showing up. Consistency creates quality. Imagine a craftsman building a wooden table. Each day they sand, measure, cut, and assemble. Some days the work feels exciting. Other days it's repetitive, but they understand something important. Consistency creates quality. Rushing creates weakness. Your character is crafted the same way. Patience develops one delayed response at a time. Integrity develops one honest decision at a time. Confidence develops one courageous action at a time. Wisdom develops one lesson at a time. No single day defines you, but many faithful days shape who you become. Focus on the next step. Let's imagine two hikers climbing the same mountain. One becomes discouraged halfway up. The trail is steeper than expected. The summit is hidden by clouds. They begin focusing only on how far they still have to go. The second hiker feels tired too. But instead of staring only at the summit, they focus on the next step. Then the next. Then the next. Hours later, both hikers have experienced the same mountain. But only one continued walking. Progress often belongs to those who refuse to let temporary discomfort become a permanent decision. Commitment over motivation. One of the greatest misconceptions about successful people is that they are always motivated. The truth is far more encouraging. Most successful people simply continue showing up even when motivation is absent. They rely on commitment more than emotion. They understand that feelings change. Values endure. Show up anyway. Some mornings you'll feel inspired. Other mornings you won't. Show up anyway. Some days your efforts will produce obvious results. Other days they won't. Show up anyway. Some seasons will feel full of opportunity. Others may feel quiet and uncertain. Show up anyway. Because every day you continue moving forward, you're casting another vote for the person you want to become. The quiet impact of your efforts. There's another beautiful truth about showing up. It allows hope to remain alive. Imagine a lighthouse keeper. Every evening, they climb the stairs and light the lamp. Most nights, they never meet the ships sailing safely past. They may never hear the stories of the lives protected by that steady light. Still, they continue. Not because they receive constant recognition, but because they understand the importance of their daily responsibility. Many of your efforts are like that. You may never fully see the impact of your kindness, your discipline, your example, your encouragement, your integrity. But that doesn't mean they aren't changing lives, including your own. Progress over perfection. One practical habit that can help you continue showing up is asking yourself one simple question every morning. What would today look like if I chose progress instead of perfection? Notice the difference. Progress says, I'll take one step. Perfection says, if I can't do everything, why do anything? Progress builds. Perfection often delays. Choose progress every time. You don't need to see the whole journey. Let's return one final time to the image of the forest trail from the beginning of this audiobook. You still cannot see the entire journey ahead. No one can. But you've learned something important. You don't need to. You only need enough light for today's next step. And every time you take that step, tomorrow reveals another. That's how meaningful lives are built. Not through certainty, not through perfection, but through faithful movement. One day at a time. Reflection. Before we conclude this audiobook, take a quiet moment and ask yourself, which reminder from this audiobook has spoken to you most deeply? What is one habit you're committed to practicing consistently? Where have you already grown in ways you once thought impossible? What kind of person do you want to become over the next year? What is the very next step you'll take after finishing this audiobook? Don't rush these questions. Sometimes one honest answer can quietly change the direction of your life. Action step. Today, write a short letter to your future self. Imagine opening it exactly 1 year from now. Include the person you're committed to becoming, 3 habits you'll practice consistently, 1 fear you're choosing to leave behind, 1 dream you're actively pursuing, a promise that no matter how slow progress feels, you'll keep showing up. Seal it in an envelope or save it somewhere you'll remember. Let it become a reminder that today's choices are shaping tomorrow's reality. Key takeaways. Lasting growth is built through consistent daily effort. Progress is more valuable than perfection. Commitment carries you through the days when motivation fades. Ordinary actions repeated over time create extraordinary lives. Keep showing up, because every faithful step matters. Inspirational closing. Years from now, you probably won't remember every ordinary Tuesday. You won't remember every quiet morning or every routine evening. But together, those ordinary days will become your life. So don't underestimate them. Treat each day as another opportunity to become a little wiser, a little kinder, a little stronger, a little more patient. a little more courageous. You don't need to rush. You don't need to compare. You don't need to have everything figured out. Just keep showing up. Because one day you'll look back, not at one spectacular moment, but at thousands of faithful choices that quietly transformed your life. And you'll realize something beautiful. You were becoming the person you hoped to be all along. Final reflection. Now that we've reached the end of this journey together, take a deep breath. Think back to where you were when this audiobook began. Perhaps you started listening because you felt stuck. Maybe you needed encouragement after a setback. Perhaps you were searching for clarity, motivation, or simply a reminder to keep going. Now imagine yourself 1 year from today. Picture the small habits you've maintained, the fears you've faced, the conversations you've had, the opportunities you've embraced, the gratitude you've practiced, the people you've encouraged, the wiser choices you've made. Imagine how different your life could feel, not because everything became easy, but because you became stronger. Remember, personal growth isn't measured only by what you've achieved. It's measured by who you've become. And every day offers another opportunity to become someone you're proud of. Complete audiobook summary. Let's revisit the 12 reminders that have guided us through this audiobook. Chapter 1. You don't have to feel ready before you begin. Great journeys begin with imperfect first steps. Action creates confidence. Chapter 2. Your journey doesn't have to look like anyone else's. Stop comparing your timeline. Measure your progress against who you were yesterday. Chapter 3. The way you speak to yourself shapes the direction of your life. Your inner dialogue influences your actions. Replace harsh criticism with honest encouragement. Chapter 4. Every setback carries a lesson. Challenges are not the end of your story. They are opportunities to grow in wisdom and resilience. Chapter 5. Small daily habits create the future you're hoping for. Consistency matters more than intensity. Small choices repeated daily shape extraordinary lives. Chapter 6. Trust the process. Even when you can't yet see the results, invisible progress is still progress. Keep watering the seeds you've planted. Chapter 7. You can't control everything, but you can always choose your response. Focus your energy on your attitude, actions, and character instead of circumstances beyond your control. Chapter 8. Gratitude doesn't ignore life's challenges. A thankful heart helps you recognize hope even during difficult seasons. Chapter 9. Your choices today become the life you live tomorrow. Every decision is another brick in the foundation of your future. Chapter 10. Courage isn't the absence of fear. Fear may walk beside you, but it doesn't have to lead you. Chapter 11. The people you choose to walk with shape the person you're becoming. Choose relationships that encourage growth and become that source of encouragement for others. Chapter 12. Keep showing up. The life you want isn't built in one remarkable day. It's built through thousands of faithful, ordinary ones. Together, these reminders form one unified message. Keep moving forward. Not perfectly, not quickly, but consistently. 7-Day Success Challenge. Day 1. Begin something. Take one action you've been postponing. Don't wait until you feel ready. Just begin. Day 2. Practice gratitude. Write down 5 things you're grateful for and thank one person who has positively impacted your life. Day 3. Build one habit. Choose one healthy habit that takes 10 minutes or less and complete it today. Day 4. Face one fear. Do one thing you've been avoiding because it feels uncomfortable. Day 5. Learn from a setback. Reflect on a recent disappointment and write down one lesson you'll carry forward. Day 6. Encourage someone. Reach out to someone with a sincere message of appreciation or encouragement. Day 7. Plan your next step. Review everything you've learned and choose one meaningful goal for the coming month. Break it into small daily actions and commit to taking the first step tomorrow. Remember, the purpose of this challenge isn't perfection. It's momentum. Motivational closing. As this audiobook comes to an end, remember that your life is not defined by a single success, a single mistake, or a single difficult season. It's defined by what you repeatedly choose. Choose to learn. Choose to grow. Choose to forgive. Choose to begin again. Choose to believe that slow progress is still progress. There will be days when the road feels steep. There will be moments when you question yourself. There will be seasons when the finish line seems far away. When those days come, return to these reminders. Not because they magically remove every challenge, but because they help you remember something easy to forget. You are capable of taking one more step, and sometimes one more step is all that's needed. Keep showing up. Keep learning. Keep becoming. The future isn't asking you to be perfect. It's inviting you to be faithful to the next step. Final call to action. If this audiobook has encouraged you, inspired you, or simply reminded you of something you needed to hear today, I truly appreciate your support. Please like this video so more people can discover these messages of hope and personal growth. If you'd like more motivational audiobooks like this one, subscribe to the channel and join us for future journeys of learning and self-improvement. If someone came to mind while you were listening, share this audiobook with them. You never know how one encouraging message might brighten another person's path. And before you go, I'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment and tell us which reminder from today's audiobook will you carry with you starting today. Your story may become the encouragement someone else has been waiting for. Thank you for being here. Thank you for spending this time with us. In a world that often moves too fast, we're grateful that you chose to slow down, reflect, and invest in your own growth today. Wherever life takes you next, remember that every small step matters, every lesson has value, and every new day offers another opportunity to grow into the person you were created to become. We hope this audiobook stays with you long after the final words have been spoken. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, keep believing in the quiet power of consistent progress, and keep moving forward, one step, one choice, and one day at a time. Take care, stay encouraged, and we'll see you again in the next audiobook. The end.